What's up, everybody? It's about that time for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. I'm Kevin Swan, co-host of the show, and the crew are professional people who are also friends that come together to talk about the things you want us to talk about. We talk about it all, and we don't hold back. So come on and join us for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. Welcome to the crew here on WHOV and on our social media outlets. Y'all, what we do behind the scenes, I'm telling you, if we could record that, that'd be good.
No, thank you.
But we here.
It's bonus content.
It's bonus content.
It's bonus content.
I don't know if this is bonus.
It's foolery. Is what it is.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, led by Sia, of course. But you know that's why we here.
Nope, my
That's why
sister
we
ain't
here.
going. My sister ain't taking that blame.
Thank
It's you.
you.
Me?
It's you.
Thank
Yeah. What's
you.
wrong with me? Like cut your pearl.
I didn't say anything before the show started. The people need to understand the truth.
Then tell it.
I had nothing to do
For
with this.
what?
Y'all came at me. So as you can see, we have a good time here on the show. We got Anton, we got Sia, we have Albion, who is not with us again. She'll be back soon.
Yes.
And then we have our producer extraordinaire behind the scenes. Are you Bishop today, sir? Who are you today? Who are you?
Some will call me the author of pettiness.
Oh no.
Some will call me the bishop of buffoonery. Some will call me the deacon of everything decent. I have not decided who I am today, but by the conclusion of this agronutiousness type show, we will decide who we are, and we can do both and separate them and put them together.
There's beauty in medication.
You know,
I just want you to
have
know
yet
that.
to ever try to pronounce that word.
Agronutiousness.
No, you say no?
Agronutiousness.
We want him to spell it. That's
Yeah,
what we're
spell
gonna,
it.
We're
Let's
gonna put it in the at the lower third.
It'll be there.
Spell
It'll be there.
Spell it so
Agronutiousness.
people can understand.
It's a noun, it's an adjective, it's a pronoun, it's an adverb, and it's a verb.
It's-
And maybe, Jay, you know, like people listening and created a shirt for
Yes,
Tom.
created.
Maybe they'll create a shirt for you.
They need
New
to.
words
Agronutiousness.
and new terms
Yep.
and
We need somebody.
states.
When he
No,
put,
we don't.
When he put, we need somebody to
grammar.
send
We do
Jason a
not.
shirt.
Yes, and I will send you
my
the
God.
email address. You can go ahead and when you send the shirt, send a monetary donation.
Here we go.
See,
See, you done messed it up.
I'm just saying.
You done messed it
I'm
up.
just saying.
You done messed it
And
up.
while we asking, let's
Now
go ahead and
Just
get it.
send the shirts.
Now somebody's watching. They said that's a Negro, but they ain't said Negro.
That's right. yeah.
They said that's a Negro.
They kind of tweaked it.
Oh my God.
that word Negro. They
kinda
said, but that ain't no
tweaked
Negro.
Oh my God.
But look, we got to jump in because look,
Yes.
it's all jokes aside,
Yes.
y'all. We are close to the election now, right? It's around the corner. It's officially election day is Tuesday,
Right.
Right, but people have had the right to vote early, so we
Yes.
hope people have taken advantage of that. I know I voted early. Our families voted early. Hope y'all have done the same. But
No, I actually like the day of.
You like
I just
drama.
like the feel. What you say? I like drama.
you like drama
I like the
because that's
feel
what you
of
do
it.
every day.
It is. It
See,
is.
yeah, that's what it
I
is.
deal with drama.
See, you look for drama.
But I like the feel of it. Everybody out there and people are just like enjoying. It's community. It's just I love it.
Okay. How about you? Do you vote
Well,
early?
I have voted, but also you have until tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day to vote, November 2nd, to vote early.
Yes.
So if you want to do it before the day of, make sure you vote by tomorrow. And then, of course, there is Tuesday, the day of. But no, I like to do early voting.
Yes. And the reason is because our community has been pushing for early voting.
Yes.
And I might.
Especially on Sundays. And, that's a whole nother conversation.
I might, but I'm still be out there the day of
Oh,
because
yeah.
I still love
Absolutely.
the feel.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
I still love the feel.
Yeah, you can go
Yeah.
out there, still shake hands, kiss
Yeah.
babies, do
Yeah.
what you do.
Hey, y'all.
But vote early.
Hey.
But all jokes aside, we want to talk about something that we have noticed
Oh, we got to talk about
that's
this.
in the news and statistics, and,
Yes.
and that is the minority population, in particular black men, Sia, who are leaning more toward voting for former President Trump as opposed to Vice President Harris. And we know that this number is the highest that it has been in a very long time in our community, that you have a block of black men that are going for a Republican candidate, let alone President Trump.
Right.
And so we want to unpack that.
Yeah.
Right. And so your thoughts, I mean, you
Well,
see.
hold on. Before you go there,
All right.
you got to set this up right. You're doing a bad job.
I'm trying to go in.
Yeah, no, you're doing a bad job because see, my shank is already out because see, I'm a set.
Well, before you speak,
But
let
you
me
got to
let me
show the
just
clip.
say
They got to show the clip.
before we even get to the clip. Before that, because I wanna make sure that people understand. We talk a lot about the Black community specifically on our show. Like
Yes.
that is who we are. That is what we're dealing with. So there are other voting blocks
Mm-hmm.
that are also supporting like the former president in larger numbers.
We're gonna deal with that too.
So we're not talking about now because when President Obama said something to the Black men,
Yeah.
people took it all kinds of ways. No. We are talking to each other within this conversation. So this is not a blame if anything happens. We just want to see what are the trends and reasons for it to be shifting this way.
And we also want to call out the foolishness.
We do. We do.
Okay.
Okay, so you set it up.
And the reality
So
of
since
it
I ain't set it up so good, you want to set it
you
up?
know, you did a bad job, but I'm gonna
I'm
go
trying
ahead
to let
and
the
say
lady
it.
go first, but of course you want to step
Well,
in.
you set it up and then let her go first, but you did a bad job.
Okay, you go ahead on.
So, listening world, this is the deal.
People watching
Have
too.
Y'all see? I know they watching because
So it's not a listening world. It's
I'm sorry,
viewers.
listening and viewers.
Thank you.
Okay, so here is the thing. Recently, there have been some ex-football players, and I'm gonna call their name: Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, both who were Steeler players, and they've gone to these Trump rallies, and they're wearing these T-shirts, and the T-shirt says Trump or the Tramp, and they're referencing our vice president, and to me, it's like the ultimate diss. To me, I think it's no different. I've always had a problem when I hear lyrics on rap music or other music that call our women female dogs and out of their name. And so for you to call someone a tramp that is our vice president, the first African-American, and yes, she is African-American because her father is, and for you to label her that, and you're doing it in defense of a person who got 3 baby mamas
and is also held liable for rape.
and also held liable for rape, and then you yourself,
Because that part.
got 6 different baby mamas with 7 or more children that we know about.
And then don't know how to act in public.
And don't know how to act in public because you also had, I believe, domestic. Was it domestic?
And indecent, was it indecent exposure?
Oh, you talking about Antonio Brown?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We were
he
going
was
back
the
and
other
forth.
one.
I'm sorry.
We
I'm
going
sorry.
back and forth. Yeah,
Got you.
he the other one.
But the whole crew.
But the whole crew, and he got all these kids around here, and he also has been charged himself. So I'm like, you calling her a tramp?
Right.
That's how we doing?
Yep.
Even if you thought for a second that she was, the fact that she is in that status position,
Right.
and you are not calling, oh boy, a
Anything,
tramp,
right.
a gigolo, a hoe, then why would you say that about your own? That's the problem I got. Now, go ahead on.
No, because I wanted to make sure that we had that original setup because everybody's gonna do what they're gonna do on
They
election
are.
day, right?
They
So our purpose here is to see what is going on within our own community, and we've had conversations about how the vitriol that comes out towards Black women, right? And so again, she is Black and of Asian descent. Like there's no way around it. You're not gonna talk about her hair. You're not gonna talk about her Black scent or her code switching or nothing. The woman is Black, and she lives her life. Been to Howard University, is part of an illustrious sorority, and there's so many like parts of her life that are blended between the Caribbean, African Black culture and the Asian culture, Indian
Question
culture.
for you, Sia. Did they say that about our President Obama?
Well, listen, they just said he was born in Kenya when he was not, right?
Right.
But they did not come at him and talk about him being a tramp or anything. But they did try to prove that he was not a United States citizen.
But
Because
they never say he wasn't black.
No, they tried it.
They tried that
They
too?
tried it because his mother is white. They
No,
did
I know,
try
I
it.
know that, but
They did.
that's the point I'm making, because I don't remember that
Oh,
being
yeah, they did.
a major issue within our community that they
That he
were
wasn't
saying
black
that he
enough.
wasn't black enough. You know, I know that they try to say that he was from another country and that he wasn't born here.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that they were trying to make it seem that he wasn't black.
I will definitely say that what I have heard about Harris has been way worse.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to with even our own community of her not being black enough, or she just turned black, like those sorts of things. But it's from people that had no idea what her life looked like before the first time they saw her
Correct.
on TV.
Correct.
And so it's really crazy. But I can understand if there are, former football players that want to be Republicans. I don't have a problem with
Right,
that,
that's
right?
cool. Yeah.
But what about her policies? Can we talk about? Because you calling her a tramp, that's calling into question her character. That's calling into question her morality, her actions. And it's so dumb because, people go to the easiest thing to attack when they don't have nothing else. So, I get all kinds of people online calling me fat or, stuff from being a woman, but they never tell me where I'm wrong with the words coming out my mouth. And it's the same thing with her. It's like you calling her a tramp, but you have no way to rationalize why you don't agree with her policies over his, right? They don't even have that conversation. It's just the cute little T-shirts. But the misogyny, which is specific bigotry against women, and then the misogynoir, which a wonderful graduate of Spelman College, Moya Bailey, coined, is when it's specifically the vitriol for Black women comes out. It's like, but why?
But they
But that's
can't
what I
even
wanna
take
ask.
the more high ground. They can't even take the
But
more
then
high
you
ground.
look at how they talking about their own
But
children's
that's
mothers.
what we want to talk about, right?
Right.
So do you think, see, if Kamala was white, because we had this with Hillary, were Black men coming out and calling Hillary all types of names because she was a female?
I saw most of it from white men, but she did catch it.
Okay.
She did catch it.
So do you think this is a male issue, or do you think it's a Black male issue?
I think it's both.
What do you think is more pronounced?
I think it's
Or surprising, rather?
I think it's more pronounced the way in which the Black men who are choosing to engage in this behavior are willing to allow themselves to be on stage with it. And that's where the media picks up from it, because not only is it a surprise to see a Black man at a Trump rally who's not already a Republican elected official, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you got a Black man who's denigrating a Black woman. It's salacious. It's salacious.
But I'm like, dude, you act like your mama ain't Black.
Well,
And I'm like, dude, you act like you would be cool with somebody saying that about your mama.
exactly.
So then let's have the conversation, because there will be some people out here who may be watching or listening who may not be in that category
Right.
of being salacious, but still may favor Trump over Kamala Harris.
Right.
And that's fine.
Correct.
We don't have an issue with people saying, I select him. But here's the question. Do you select him for his policies?
Right.
Or do you select him simply because you are anti-Black woman?
Right.
That's the problem that we are discussing.
Could it
and
be
what-
anti-Democrat too?
Well, but here's the thing. If I'm having a conversation with you and you're saying it's the $1,200, the reason why, you like Trump, and these are actual
Well, let me
reasons
come
that
to
I've
that.
heard. Okay.
Let me come to that.
Because I can run down the actual reasons that we've
Yeah,
heard.
so let me
and it's
go
like,
back.
bruh.
So according to certain research, here's what people are saying why they are choosing Trump: the perceived economic stability. So people are saying, look, right, wrong, and different. When he was in office, gas was lower, my bills were lower than it was in the last 3.5 years under Biden Harris. What do you say to that?
So the
Especially
economy,
the stimulus check
right?
that
So
had his
the
name on it.
the economy that Trump inherited that was doing so well was President Obama's economy.
Correct.
So we have to understand how trends and things flow. And I have found that a lot of people that are using this talking point have no idea how the actual economy works. They just know what the impact was on their pockets. And so if you go back and you look at the policies that President Obama had put into place, tons of job creation. The last, 3 Democratic presidents have had had about 50 million jobs created, and that is compared to 1 million net jobs created from the Republicans. So if you're inheriting the policies that created 50 million jobs, it's going to feel good. You have a job, you have money in your pocket. Well, that extra money that came to you during COVID was a Democratic proposal from Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi that Trump actually held up while people were being hit the hardest financially in order to then put his name in the signature, right? And so the actual bills, he cannot write you checks without Congress. And that was a Democratic Congress that did that, but everybody's giving him, props to that. But then I asked, okay, excuse me, you got $1,200 once during COVID, and is that worth so much to you that you're willing to ignore that 19 economists are saying that Trump's policies will be more costly to those of us that make $400,000 or less, meaning our taxes go up, meaning less money in our pocket, that job creation could go down, that the tariffs that he's talking about will make things that we are saying are expensive now even exponentially more expensive if they're being imported, weighing out all of these things. So yes, you got $1,200 from Democrats with his name on it, but looking forward, his policies are actually going to cost more of you money. And so I saw it like, if you use the lotion all the way down to the point where you hitting the bottle up against your hand, you're impacted by Trump's policy proposals, but not impacted by Kamala Harris's, because she's trying to tax the ultra wealthy more. So it's like one of her proposals is taxing people that have capital gains at like $100 million. Sir, that's not you. And I'm not trying to be funny. You could maybe. But that's not you.
But I think for most people who support this view,
right,
they're looking at who is in office at the time of which it happened. Right. And for them, he was in office. Check out his name on it. For them, that says it happened under his watch.
And there's one thing that I want to remind people, because it seems like we have short-term memories. We were also fighting over toilet paper, and we were standing in line at the food pantries. So I don't want to, it seems like we remember the best of times, but not the worst of times under his, how he handled COVID. You might have had more money in your pocket because of this economy that he inherited. But what about all the family we lost because of the botched response to a national pandemic, right? So we can't just choose one or the other, especially when we're not understanding how these larger systems work.
Okay, so that's the first one, right? People are also saying that they, right, wrong, and different. People who support him get past what he says, and they think he's more real in what he says, as opposed to Kamala, who they believe, now we're having this conversation, right? We're playing the other side. They don't necessarily believe that what she says is as authentic as what he says.
So that's saying that Haitian people are eating pets is authentic. And then when you're questioned about it, your running mate says, well, we had to make up that story so we could force the media to do their job.
Yeah, so again, they don't pay attention to always what he says. They pay more attention to the delivery of the message and how it comes across for them, and the feeling that maybe that's how they would say it if they were in the same position, as opposed to maybe saying it eloquently or even telling the truth.
And that's why I have a problem, because to me, that taps into less intellect and more of the tapping into the rabid misogyny that is going on. So when you just come out your mouth and say something racist, and then a black person that says, yeah, I like him because he's more real, there's cognitive dissonance there. Because when he said, I want all police to have immunity, sir, that is your black self that could be harmed by that. People
ain't looking at it like that.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
That's the problem.
The problem is, if you like someone's delivery, this man has been using language directly from the Nazis. Directly from the Nazis.
Dog whistles.
He is using a playbook that led to the execution of millions of people. He is tapping back into the systems where we were enslaved. So when you say authentically delivered and you're not listening to the content, then you are saying you are willing to be economically, physically, and emotionally enchained because you were enthralled with his delivery? Like Anton.
The Pied Piper.
Anton!
The Pied Piper.
Anton.
That's what it is. Yeah. I saw recently that someone gave a number of African American men a copy of the 2025.
It was like hip-hop something.
Yeah, the 2025 playbook.
Yep.
And they were reading it and to see the responses because they really didn't know
No, they
what
didn't
was
know.
in it.
And one of the reasons why is because this election is going down education lines. It's clear the percentage of people who are not college educated are favoring Trump. But the people who are college educated and above are favoring Harris.
So are you saying to me, because I don't have a college education, I don't have common sense? Because some of the things that he's saying and he's doing is just straight common sense. He is telling you how he feel about you, how he feel about your culture, how he feel about your race, how he feel about your economic status, how he feel about your sexual orientation. He is telling you about how he feels about you, how you feel about your gender. He's telling you. He's not hiding the ball. He's actually saying it. The problem is when you look through the lens of your misogyny, when you look through the lens of some self-hatred. Because here's the thing. Sometimes we project onto others, how we feel about ourselves.
I don't disagree.
Okay, and so when you look through the lens of your own self-hatred and then you start saying about her what you feel about yourself, because Le'Veon Bell, you should be calling yourself a tramp, bro. You should be calling yourself a hoe because you got all them baby mamas. You got 7 kids and 6 baby mamas, but you calling her a tramp?
And the point I'm making is, again, we have to think about, why is so many gravitating toward him when we know the facts?
Well,
that's what you got to ask. So part of it, I think, is people are not paying attention to the policies and the educator. They're paying more attention to how they feel.
And voting is one of the most emotional things that you can do. Where the breakdown for me is where a lot of us are voting out of fear of something and hope in something else. The emotion, because the emotion that you're striking with us when we see the ads and is based off other things that we know and have read. So if someone, no matter their educational level, because I know you're basing that off data, but no matter what the education level is, if you are getting 90% of your news from TikTok and you're not fact checking any of it, then I could see where one could believe that in fact the lies of Hispanics stealing jobs from Black people, the lies of she slept her way to the top, the lies of all of these lies that these white nationalists and misogynistic men, podcasts, and TikTokers are saying, if you're not hearing other things to fact check that and you're on your phone watching TikTok for hours and hours a day, I can see how that can translate. My concern is that for that $1,200, for the hatred that you might have for that one, you are literally walking yourself into some really serious harm.
Bondage.
Right. And the idea that I think it was President Johnson was just talking to how you get the poor man to have empathy for the rich man is how you keep them impoverished. And so you walking around here with $20 in your pocket worried about her tax policies that are going to tax the rich but not you, and supporting a man that is going to tax you more and cost you more, then it really does show to me that there was something that you were upset about.
Yes.
That you lost a job.
And he tapped into it.
That your baby mama was messing with you. You felt like you lost power. You felt like you've lost position. But here's the problem. Instead of blaming it on drag queens, transgender children, and women, you're not blaming it on the corporation that let you go because the jobs were going over to Mexico, that underpaid you because they fought against fair wages. You're not fighting back against the very thing that is actually quote unquote holding you back. And he embodies that. He is promising billionaires that he will keep our water dirty and keep our air dirty in order to keep all of their, oil flowing and the things that are hurting the Black community the most, the incidences of diabetes and bringing down the cost of medicine. She doesn't get, she doesn't get credit for any of that, but he gets credit for being real when his realness is actively killing us. And that to me, lets me know that it's an emotional response and not an intellectual one. And they're going to tap into that hatred that you have for other people, that you have blamed your problems on, as opposed to tapping into blaming the systems that led you into that.
And I don't want to be disrespectful, and I don't want to stereotype. I don't believe most people are thinking that high and that far out. They're thinking only about their pocket, only about their house, only about what they can benefit or who they think can benefit them the most. They're not concerned about dirty water. They might not even know about it.
But the dirty water's coming into their house.
But they not. That's not. If the number one issue in this election is the economy,
yes.
right? Do we agree to that?
Yes.
Then that's what they're thinking about. Who gonna help me put money in my pocket?
So
They're
please
not-
tell me
But
how
that's-
he's going to help them
Exactly.
put
They
money in
can't.
their pocket.
They
can't.
can't. They can't explain it. But what they can explain is he has, in my opinion, tapped into that anger.
Yes.
And the frustration and the fear, that many people have in this country.
And again, what fear? What
Fear,
realistic fear?
Well, it depends on which group you're talking about.
I don't care. Just name any. What fear?
But no, the fear that if you show, so they got caught showing ads that have pictures from other countries of it looked like what they were calling illegal immigrants rushing areas. So the fear that we are being overrun by immigrants and that why they can't get a good job is because of immigrants. Why the crime is up is because of immigrants, migrant crime, all of that, right? But no. And then the fear of the women taking over, the LGBTQIA community taking over, it is tapping into this mediocrity that we have rampant in this country. And it's not because the women have gone to school and have earned their positions. It's because they're taking something I feel entitled to.
So
And before you finish, and add guns to that.
So
Because
I
there's a
am.
fear you're going to take my gun
So
away.
I am looking back on when he started to crack down on immigrants coming in back in 2016, 2017. And I remember, do you guys remember when there was a crab shortage?
Yes.
Because they took away the workers
Yep.
who would
Yes.
pick the crabs,
Yes.
pull them apart, and pull out the crab
Yes.
meat. Who's doing those jobs?
Correct.
Immigrants. When you see people in the fields picking cabbage and picking
Yep.
different things, that's
Oranges,
hard
all that.
labor,
Yes.
straight hard labor. Nobody is trying to do that, especially for the wages that they're paying. The immigrants were doing that. And when he stopped people from coming into the country, what ended up happening is the prices for all of those things went skyrocket high, and there was a major shortage on crab meat. And I cook particularly with crab meat, and
Right.
so I remember when that went down. That's why that sticks in my head, because I remember that, and I'm like, so you're up there fearing that someone is going to take your job. And I remember, if y'all remember, he at one point he was like, y'all black jobs.
Yes.
Because
He said
was
that.
he said
Yes.
because he said that, we're the ones that's low man on the totem pole in his eyes. We will always be low man on the totem pole. And it reminds me of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes.
They existed because they felt like if I could convince uneducated, poor white people that no matter how rich everyone else may be, but if you are white, at least you are better than even the richest or wealthiest black person. The problem was when slavery was over and these black geniuses began to produce their own revenue and produce their own crops and produce their own Wall Streets and their own businesses. And these people saw that, wait a minute, they got more money than me.
Right.
They're living in better houses than me, and
Burn
their
down.
businesses are prospering, and mine is going down to the pits because now I don't have forced labor. And they said, well, I'm gonna take what you have.
Yep.
And that's why they put those white sheets on and burnt down their cities and burnt down their homes, burnt down their fields, because you wouldn't sell it to me for 5 cents.
Right.
And so that's the problem. It is a mindset of I am better than you.
And that's the
So
fear.
how do black people tap into that? And it is because when you hear that black jobs, they're stealing your black jobs or whatever, they would rather, the folks up here, the ones that wore the white hoods, they would rather black and brown be fighting each other for these little crumb jobs, as opposed to if we all had a fair share, we'd be taking over a whole bunch of stuff because the black genius and the black excellence is clear.
Now let me broaden it out for radio. See, I got to ask you a tough question. All right, and this is relative to the party, because there are many black people who have said, you know what, we have given the Democratic Party opportunities years after years. We haven't seen any changes, right? They come in our communities, they talk to us, we tell them what we need, and we still don't see any difference.
Hey, we're halfway through the show. Big shout out to everyone tuning in. Thank you all so much. If you're loving the content, consider supporting us by becoming a sponsor. Just contact us via email at thecrewradioshow757@gmail.com. Now stick around, we've got even more good stuff coming your way.
How do you respond to that?
I respond to that with look harder, because honestly and truly, if you look at no matter how you feel about him, President Biden has been one of the most consequential presidents of our entire lifetime. So the Inflation Reduction Act, what he's been able to do on student loans, the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, and then there was but wait, because I
want to ask you that.
Yeah.
See, this is my personal frustration with the party. These things are incredible. I have found Republicans do a much better job marketing their successes than Democrats, right?
So yes, that is very fair. We do not necessarily always brag on the things.
Know, like when you say he's the most consequential president, you're in it, right?
Yeah.
You see it. Most people on the street, how do you help to translate what you just said where people can understand it on the street?
So new buildings, new jobs, higher wages, like the better paying jobs. Now, most of the times people think about economy in what stuff costs, right? And that is, I think, hard because when I don't want to name the chain because it's between two chains, but there was a large grocery chain that we have in this area that was caught on record doing dynamic pricing. And so the inflation that everybody is talking about, the cost to us for goods, is actually corporate greed. And so President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are being blamed for what corporations are doing. And so I think it's important to know that we have to broaden the scope. That's not even under the purview of the president and vice president. But when you look at the things that are actual deliverables, we have a new transportation center in Newport News that was one of the first projects in Virginia to be done with funding from the infrastructure bill. We have the widening of the tunnels. We're getting improved bus transit. Like, these are things, but because I didn't put up a poster that said, hey, I built this new building, thank me for it, then we don't get the credit for it. And I do think that that's what the Democrats have a problem with, because we've gotten higher teacher pay. We've gotten more Black students out of public Virginia universities that are going to higher paying jobs. Shout out to Virginia Union University and Virginia State University, Norfolk State University, and the like. But it's like, things are exponentially better than what they were, but because stuff costs a lot at the store, all of that gets wiped away. And because gas prices might be up higher from a deal that Trump made when he was president, then everything gets blamed. And that's what is so sad to me, because how do I knock on your door and have a conversation with you about how the economy works and that it's the corporation's fault, but also vote for me when we don't have that time? Like, people are not gonna take a class on economics.
No, but what you can do is explain it in terms that makes sense for people. How is it going to impact my pocket? I mean, I think that's where you start.
But you
right?
just said that. Well, maybe you said it, Sia, where you said if people spend the bulk of their time on social media or on TikTok, and how do you have hours at a time to spend on TikTok is another issue.
That's
but
another show.
it's another show. But the fact that if you're getting all of your news, all of your media from social media, and you won't take the time to read or even look at the regular news, look at there were two debates, one by the VPs and one by the presidential nominees. You could have heard the differences in the two candidates or the four candidates, but you chose not to do that because you simply don't either have the time for it or you are just done with politics, but then you make a poor choice. Whose fault is that?
But so I definitely take the criticism that the Democratic Party can do better with its messaging. I 100% own that. I think a lot of times we get in our own way with the messaging. But when there is messaging, and this is what I think Anton is saying, but when there is messaging, so Kamala Harris and Donald Trump both have websites. A lot of the conversations when I'm hearing from men who are saying that they can't support her because they don't know enough about her, and I send them the website, they still won't read it.
Correct.
So it's just kind of like, I just don't know that the lack of information is really the answer. When you look at the coverage, say for instance, the plan that she has for $25,000 for first-time home buyers, right? Or the fact that she has plans to make 3 million new units of housing available. That is a direct impact. More housing stock brings down your rent. That's a direct impact. But if you won't even listen to the fact that she has a plan, then how are you going to be mad that the Democratic Party hasn't messaged, right? Like, that is a message. The message is, I've heard that there's a housing crisis. I want to do something about it. Donald Trump's answer when he was asked at his own rally for what he would do for the housing crisis was drill, baby, drill. Now, I personally have not yet figured out how drilling more is bringing down the housing costs, because utility cost is not the only reason why housing is expensive.
Correct.
So you hear all of these things. There's lots and lots of information that out there. What Tim Walz is doing, has already done in his own state and wants to bring to the job. The fact that the President Biden is the first ever president to have an office of gun violence prevention, and the team there is doing amazing things, including funding prevention efforts here in Hampton and Newport News, right? So, like, these things are going on, and then you have a guy that's up there just saying, like, I'm mad as heck at the same people you're mad at, so come be with me. How do I message to that? Because I don't have a message of misogyny or anger.
Yeah.
I have a message of, hey, y'all, let's get together and do stuff. Like, what the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, has been able to do has been amazing. But people want to talk about the fact that he's gay as opposed to what he's getting done. How do I message to that? It seems like no matter what the message is, certain people that are having these emotional feelings based on fear, we're never going to come around to a positive message anyway.
But that's the strength of Trump. It ain't about policy, really. It's about tapping into something, right? And he has figured that part out, right? And I'm just saying that the Democrats, maybe for years, have not yet learned how to tap into certain spaces that gravitate people. I think people who are voting for Kamala, again, it's on the education lines. I think so. People who do take the time to read. But for right now, you know as well as I do, younger generation don't read daily press. They don't go on an unbiased news source. It's Twitter where they get their information.
But they can go on the website.
But not going there.
I just want to push back just a little bit, because I do think the Democrats have messaged really well on abortion and reproductive rights. And you are finding that two things, democracy and abortion. The reason why Kamala Harris has such a big tent that goes from, whether you like him or not, but goes from Dick and Liz Cheney to AOC and Bernie, is because they have been messaging well. And they have been messaging well in front of audiences of various degrees.
Yes,
right?
but this show is for black men.
But that's what I'm saying. But for black men, from what I've heard, they wanted an agenda that said, here, black man, this is for you.
But they didn't ask for it from him.
They did not. And what further enrages me is that when she put one out, it's still being tossed to the side as too little, too late.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, but what is the black agenda item that Trump has for you?
None.
Other than tapping into your fear and your anger, right?
None.
And so that's where I think that there's this double standard that lets me know that there's something more than intellectual activity about someone has a plan for me, someone doesn't have a plan for me, but I'm going to still rock with the dude that doesn't have a plan for me and that can actually hurt me because he makes me feel good in this moment.
Okay. So you mentioned double standard. Where do you think the double standard lies? Is it in party double standard and how parties are portrayed? Is it in race? Is it in gender? Is it in all of it?
I honestly think
combination.
it's a combination.
Yeah,
but
it's a
let me tell
combination.
you, I know y'all saw that man had that whole rally. Went over there and said, "We're not taking no more questions," and stood there and
30 minutes.
swayed for 39 minutes
Yeah.
to music. And if, like, basically him not talking about little green Martians is a check. And then you got her. She comes out on Fox News. She was out on 60 Minutes. She's been in front of all kinds of audiences taking hard questions. Nobody is even asking him hard questions. When he was on with the editor of Bloomberg, and he was telling him the man that basically has studied this and done this for 25 years, Trump was telling him that he misunderstood how tariffs work when actually it's Trump that's been saying all this, right? So even the questions that they were asking him were little softballs. But then she puts out this whole plan, and they go to page 5 and says, well, where you said this, you left out a comma. It's like, there's absolutely the media coverage. This man is getting credit for not pooping himself on television. And you have her who has degrees, right? Experience, multiple levels of previous experience, an entire record that people are combing through, and all they have is she don't look black. But the man is literally, we are watching cognitive decline in front of our faces. But then I'm like, well, maybe it is party, because y'all done jumped on old man Joe and got him out the race because he was old, but at least he was making sense. And you got this man literally not putting sentences together, and he gets a pass.
So in this
it's
case,
all of it.
you're saying the media is doing the double standard in terms of how she's getting questioned and interviewed versus how he's getting interviewed.
But no, the black men as well. The black men in barbershops, like literally I've had this conversation where point after point, the 1200, you refute that. Then they go to the next point, you refute that. Then you go to the next point, they refute that, but they still
So what other
rocking
points
with
have you heard?
So I've heard that she slept her way to the top and she cannot be trusted. And I'm just looking like, she slept with 4 million people to get to the top because she earned all them votes, right? So, but then I say, okay, well, are you concerned with who he slept with? And no, they're not. So if you're gonna do it on economy, then let's go down the pros and the cons on each person on economy. If you're gonna do it on morals because of life decisions, let's do that. Because whether she slept her way to the top or not, which she did not, but just for argument's sake, she slept with that man and that's how she got elected. She has not been held liable for literal rape. Like, let's be very clear. She does not have a porn star out here saying that she gave him or her hush money, right? So don't tell me it's morals. And then when you go down to jobs, and then you refute that he was the one, he did not create more jobs than what Biden has. Then what's left? And it's like, well, I'm just rocking him with him because he keep it real.
Which is what I
own
said.
it. But that's what I'm saying. But just own it.
But then how many do you think in it? And I don't know you have an exact number, but do you think it's a little bit of a large number that just can't get with her because she's a black woman? Let's put it out there.
The majority of the conversations I've had after you debunk all the policy talking points that they have gotten from TikTok, but at the end of the day, it's like, I still don't like her.
Because she's a black woman, or just because they don't like her?
They're not going to say that.
But is that what you feel?
That's what I feel. I feel that the reasons that they have left are based in misogynoir.
And you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely.
That there are a lot of black men that just simply will not vote for her because she's a black woman.
Oh, absolutely.
And then when we're saying a lot, again, clarifying, we're talking about a movement from like 6% to 12%. The majority of black men that have been polled are supporting Harris. We are talking about the percentage of men, black men, smaller percentage, but the percentage has grown. So I don't want anybody to walk away with us saying that the majority of black men are out here talking about voting for him. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, but we do know that there's a higher minority population.
Right.
That is voting for him.
And I am not prepared to do this, but another group that is growing is Hispanic men, right? So that's for a Hispanic-based show to do. So we are only talking about the men that we know and love and the community that we serve, but there are other groups that are experiencing this same thing, and a lot of it is based off her being a woman.
And that trips me out about the Hispanic, because it's like you talk about immigration up and down the coastline, but yet the Hispanic population, not all of them, of course, but there is a segment within the Hispanic population who are racist against their own people. And that trips me out. It's just, I
But
just don't get it.
it's just like sitting up there and looking at what was it, Waka Flocka or whoever else with his black mama talking bad about black women. It trips me out.
But that's what I want to talk, because we're almost out of time. I really want to get into, what do you think are the underlying reasons? I know you're saying misogyny, right? What do you think, as a black woman, I know it hurts to feel like you don't have, generally speaking, the support of black men. In this case, right? We're not talking all black men.
We're
but for
talking
the
like,
ones...
we're not at 100% support.
Correct.
Right. So I think what bothers...
Why do you think it's hard for black men to support black women?
What I think bothers me, so black women have been significantly underprotected and marginalized in various spaces. We were even, they tried to marginalize us even within the civil rights movement, where black women were really expected to do the cooking and the cleaning, and let the men handle it. And of course, with women like Dorothy Height, it didn't work. But I do believe that there has been a very public and very loud push for women's rights and LGBTQIA plus rights. And it has been an organized effort to get significant gains. And I have heard from some of the men that when they hear Black Girl Magic, they feel left out. When they hear the celebration of, I'm serious, when they hear the celebration of black women, they hit us with the all lives matter. Now, they'll get mad. They'll get mad when we say Black Lives Matter and white people say all lives matter. But when black women are being specifically helped out, I hear from a lot of younger men, well, what about us? And it is just like infuriating. But then also, if you look at the policies that a lot of black women are fighting for, they help a lot of black men. I have been fighting for second chances after incarceration. I've been trying to fight for against disenfranchisement, and a lot of the things that were strategically put in place to harm black men and working to help. Now, I don't call it the black male agenda, like I call it, voting rights or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if the piece of paper that they get does not say, I am strategically fighting for you in particular, if I'm fighting for student loan reform, the number one group that was defaulting within the first 3 years after student loans was black men. So the reforms that we were doing were helping black men. But because I didn't take it to them and say, look, here's what I did for you, then it was like, oh, well, you didn't do that for me. You did that for everybody. But I see black women looking at proposals and policies and finding themselves in it, as opposed to it having to say, hey, black woman, this is for you. And that is frustrating.
So you're saying you believe that the reason is because black men see black women ascending.
Yes.
And
you don't believe, the LGBT community.
And you don't believe black men can handle that.
That is what the words that they say out their mouth, that they feel like they're being left behind. What about us?
What do you say to that, Tom?
Well, I don't have a comment concerning why they're saying that. I have a comment concerning if you are saying that, then maybe you need to check yourself and see what it is that you're doing or probably not doing to be left behind. Because here's the thing. One thing I have known, I've been black my whole life, and I've been around black women my entire life. And one thing I know about black women, they have always looked out for black men. I'm talking from my personal experience. Yes. And matter of fact, when I went to law school, it was a sister that told me, look, when you get down there, I went to another state and I had no car, nothing. She said, look, forget about them knuckleheads that you want to hang around when you get down there. She was like, find you a couple of sisters. They gonna look out for you. They gonna make sure you eat. When they eat, you eat.
Exactly.
They gonna make sure you get what you gotta get or whatever. And I'm talking about not sexual abuse or anything, just friendship. Yeah. Just they gonna look out because sisters have always looked out for the brothers. And so when they start saying things like, I'm being left behind, then I got to ask the question, well, bro, what are you doing to keep up? Or what are you doing to lead? What are you doing to be on the forefront? What are you doing to make sure you bettering yourself, fighting for the agenda, fighting for the things that is important for our community? If you're not doing any of those things, then you should be left behind with your trifling self.
And that part too, because
That part.
The one thing I can tell you about JD Vance and Trump that some of these folks have tapped into is wanting this traditional lifestyle. And I'm like, when were Black women stay-at-home moms? Like when Betty Friedan had the feminist movement in the 70s or the 60s and the 70s about white women being able to work outside the home, the whole reason why the womanist movement arose was because that was not the Black women's fight.
It was
because
not.
they were working outside the home for
It's
a whole
amazing.
bunch, right?
Absolutely.
And so it was just kind of like, okay, you want a traditional lifestyle where you're the breadwinner and this idea of a quiet, submissive woman, and I'm not talking about submissive in the biblical way, but literally shut up and do what you're told type of, like when that type of jargon is what's hitting you and that's what you want, but you ain't nobody's head of household because you ain't done nothing to be in charge of a household, then I'm just like, bro, I don't have nothing else to tell you. Ain't no policy that's going to get you back on this side that I'm working for because I'm not working
this is
for
crazy,
that.
man.
And just
This-
to make it real, the Black Lives Matter, that was Black women
Thank
that
you.
started
Yes.
that. So, the whole thing about, all lives matter, well, it was Black women who saw the shootings in the streets and the shooting of Black men in the streets, and they were the ones that said, let's start this movement. So brothers can't just use that as an excuse. You got to come up with a little bit better than that and come up with a different agenda. The reality of it is this: if we on college campuses, we've seen it. We've seen it in our music. We've seen it in industry with our entertainment. We have seen Black women being marginalized by Black men on a historical basis. And now you have a Black woman on the cusp of making history. And so why should she be any different than any other woman I call what you want to call her in those music videos? The way I treated her, the way I referred to her, the way I dog her out, impregnate her, and move on to the next one, impregnate multiple ones at the same time, having 29 kids and only have no. I mean, it's just horrible. It's horrible. And again, it is not all Black men because we
not.
Black men, and we
have married strong
and we
Black
are
women.
strong women,
and don't have a problem with it.
Ain't got no problem with it.
But that's
So-
because we are secure in who we are.
That
Correct.
part.
That's
part.
it.
Right.
They're not. Trump is not tapping into security within manhood.
No.
Right.
No. So we're talking about just that population, that small population. And again, it is a small population, but that small population, unfortunately, is loud.
Yep.
And because they are loud, it gives off the appearance
Yep.
that is a great number of us. But
And
it's
because,
not.
I don't know
and
about that.
because the election is so close, any voting bloc that is not following
it.
previous trends
Say it.
is going to put certain things at risk. And so I think yes, can the Democratic Party do better to do messaging? Absolutely. But I still do not know what the message is if you want a message of misogyny and hatred toward women, that's not going to come from the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And so, what is it that you do to some or say to something in order to switch that around? I don't know that that's a message I want us to find out how to craft.
I don't think there's a message. I'll be quite honest with you, because the reality of it is when they asked for the Black agenda and she gave the Black agenda and they still said, well, that's not enough. To me, that let you know where their headspace was. Their headspace is basically, this is what I want.
Right.
I am using this or this for an excuse for why I'm saying what I'm saying. And you're not going to change that. So it's going to be what it's going to be at this point. I really believe that. You're not going to change people who want to dislike you or want to hate you. When you calling people tramps publicly,
Yeah, that's rough.
that's beyond rough. Even though I think Donald Trump is a tramp, even though I think he is trifling, even though I think he has committed adultery on all his baby mamas, I just did call him a tramp, I guess.
But you ain't
nonetheless-
put it on a shirt.
I ain't put it on a
You didn't
t-shirt.
put it on a shirt.
No,
Right.
no. But the reality of it is, I wouldn't even have worn a t-shirt that said, Kamala and Tramp or whatever. I would,
Right.
it's referring to him. I would have done that. It's just the outright blatant hatred towards her in a demeaning way, simply because that's what's in them.
Yes, and it's not her; it's Black women.
Come on.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
And we gotta tap into that in a later show because we gotta run at this point. So listen, y'all. Election day is coming up on Tuesday. We need to make sure you exercise your right to vote if you haven't done it already. The last day to early vote is tomorrow. All right. We need to make sure that you get out and vote. And listen, every vote matters. I don't want to hear this that I'll skip this one, I'll sit this one out. No, you can't sit this one out. There is very important issues, a very clear and stark difference in how the country will be led depending on who's president. You need to go out and make your voice be heard. We got to run, y'all. On behalf of everyone here, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of The Crew Radio Show. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. We're always looking for great sponsors to support the show. If your company would like to reach our highly engaged audience, please drop us a line at thecrewradioshow757@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you for kicking it with the crew.